It is November 2024 and you're watching AIM on Air, where connecting companies to its shareholders is what we do best. Hello, my name is Liam, host of AIM on Air, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this exciting interview with Sean Day, Managing Director of Greatland Gold plc. Today, we'll be discussing the company's strategic acquisition of the Telfer and Havieron gold copper projects, which marks a major step forward in Greatland's growth and development. With significant progress towards the completion of this transformative deal, Sean will provide insights into implications for the company, its future, and broader impact of the Australian gold and copper market. Additionally, we're thrilled to let you know that some of our channel supporters have submitted some questions for Sean, which we'll be asking during the interview. It's one of the small perks of supporting the channel, and we're grateful for the ongoing engagement from our community. Sean, thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to diving into the details of this acquisition and what it means for Greatland's future.
Good to catch up again, and thanks very much for taking the time to run the program.
Not a problem at all. There's been a lot of speculation around Telfer, even before the acquisition was announced. When did you first realise that Telfer would play such a crucial role in Greatland's future? And what was it about the asset that gave you confidence in its potential?
Yeah, look, Liam, I think we've discussed this before. Yeah, I really joined Greatland with a view and a vision that we would be able to buy back Havieron, and I thought Telfer with that. Really, the two mines are somewhat symbiotic. Telfer is greatly enhanced by having this high-grade, long-life Havieron ore supply come into it, whilst Havieron's enhanced by having all that existing infrastructure to leverage for a expedited, lower-cost pathway to production. So, my vision was always that the two would come together.
Okay, thank you. Were there any significant challenges or risks during the negotiation or approval processes for the acquisition, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, look, I think when we think about the acquisition, and it perhaps kind of dovetails to your last question, we really felt we had a very deep and unique understanding of Havieron. So for us, due diligence was really focused on that Telfer asset. And within that, that TSF7 or TSF8 rather, ended up being the real focus for us. So that created, I think it extended out the transaction process, because we took a lot of comfort at the end of that once Newmont had completed the repairs, and that we could see visibility of that turning back on. That's then led to the announcement, and then subsequently we've seen that operate to expectations. So really that TSF was, in a transaction with a number of twists and turns, that was the key one. Notwithstanding that, I think we're always very confident we would get there, and we're always very confident in the expertise and the capabilities of Newmont to deliver that upgrade to the TSF8, which was required.
Okay, thank you. Can you walk us through the remaining conditions that need to be met for the acquisition to be completed? And is there anything specific that Greatland still needs to do to address them?
Look, it's a asset acquisition, not a company acquisition. So it means you really go into a lot more granular detail as you transfer everything across to the Greatland name. That was a function that historically Newcrest had all its assets effectively and all its Australian assets in one vehicle. So it was difficult to kind of separate them. But we're really well advanced in them. There's a lot of permits and licenses, government and non-government contracts that need to be transferred across, but that's largely progressed, and there are other pathways for us to complete that, particularly within the confines of the transitional services agreement, where Newmont provides ongoing support to the extent required by Greatland. So, yeah, we're confident that those are manageable within the context.
Okay. Was there ever a point in the process where you thought getting the acquisition to this stage might not happen?
Look, I joined Greatland with optimism and maintained that optimism Yeah, there was certainly, I think shareholders that have been on the journey for the last 3 years would have some appreciation that this was not necessarily a linear journey to this conclusion. That said, I think we did a lot of things right. The team we built, the board we brought in, the strategic shareholders, the banking support, and just the technical application that we had as well, I think is all kind of culminated in this point. And the relationship with Newmont, I think, was incredibly important. So I've always maintained that confidence, and I think you do need someone to lead with that confidence. I think at some stages I was probably more confident than maybe the facts on the ground may have led some people to believe, but ultimately we've practically got there. So really rapt to deliver that for Greatland and its shareholders.
It's amazing, when you know, you know. Assuming the acquisition proceeds as planned, which there's no reason for it not to, how does Greatland intend to optimise Telfer's processing plant to maximise throughput and recovery rates?
Yeah, look, I think the first thing we think about there is this initial 15-month mine plan. We'll execute that. We believe that's materially cash generative over that 15 months. That gives us a great start to life at Telfer and gives us time to advance Havieron. So we're really focused on just executing that initial mine plan, and we take over an existing producing site. So that's really our focus, and we're really confident that we can execute that plan. And look across that site, we'll look at bringing the focus that a mid-cap can do. And for us, it's more about increasing productivity. I think if we can drive upwards productivity, I think we can outperform those initial forecasts.
Okay. Once the acquisition is finalised, how does Greatland plan to continue exploring and developing resources at both Havieron and Telfer? Can you tell us more about the West Dome Deeps and any other immediate exploration projects in the Patterson currently underway?
Yeah, I think we can answer that in three parts. So in the broader exploration, it's more green fields, but across that existing portfolio, we'll end up holding 4,500 square kilometres of holdings across that Patterson, which is an immense holding. The centre of gravity for that is that 60-kilometre radius around Telfer. You're going to see a real focus there. That will build up slowly, but we're looking forward to combining our team with the existing team at Telfer or coming across from Newcrest, and understanding their ideas, their perspective, comparing and contrasting and analysing that with our own, and really coming back with a unified view on that bank of exploration assets. And you'll see us kind of continue drilling across 2025 we're really talking about, and then slowly walking that up over time. And we really want to invest in the drill bit. We want to bring on these satellite opportunities and run a hub and spoke model where Telfer is fed not just by the Telfer underground and the Telfer underground, and then of course the Havieron underground, but bring on other opportunities to potentially bring on all sources. Then there's I'll go to Havieron. Look, Havieron's really well drilled out. I think it's some 380,000 metres of drilling. I think that was done really well. We already have a 20-year mine life verified by SRK. I don't think there is an immediate necessity to add drilling to that. And I'll just remind people, I think 3 years ago when we did those 6-weekly exploration updates, we were getting circa 20, 25 intercepts. When we finished that drilling campaign at Havieron, we were probably getting 3 or 4. And that was largely for the same level of expenditure per quarter. So really, I see the next phase of drilling at Havieron is when we get underground. We can then drive off and do some dedicated exploration drives, and then drill into that ore body. Closer to the ore body, cheaper to drill from there, but also the cycle time of information becomes a lot quicker. So it's probably a little bit of time before we really re-enter Havieron from an exploration phase. But what you will see is a pivot to more exploration in mine at Telfer. So that's going to be first the open pit, but also the underground as well. And as part of your question, you asked about the West Dome Deeps. Look, that's a tremendously exciting area. It's a new area being opened up. Newmont invested and completed the drill drive, the exploration platform to drill into that West Dome Deeps area. It's really high grade. It's expansive. It's open in multiple directions. It's early days and there's a lot of technical work that needs to go around, but we love the option value. And certainly even at site, there's a buzz about what West Dome Deeps may deliver, but there's a lot of work to do before we can be confident on that.
No, that makes sense. Thanks very much. What's the main operational challenge you're focused on as the transition approaches?
Yeah, look, for us, it's all about the integration. We talked about that extended time period for the transaction, as some things were ironed out to the satisfaction of Greatland. That's given us a lot of time. We really started the due diligence and the engagement process on Telfer back in, say, December 2023. So almost 12 months of planning. That's given us a lot of time to reiterate our integration planning, to complete our due diligence. So there's no relax about the task in front of us, but there's a lot to do to make that integration successful. And integrations are about getting a lot of decisions correct. It's not one big decision; it's 500 small decisions, and you need to get the key ones and a majority of those decisions right. But I think we have the team, the background, and the experience to do that. So, but we achieve that integration, get Telfer onto an even footing, extend that mine life, deliver Havieron. Lots to do, but an exciting opportunity indeed.
Very exciting. The commitment letter from the banks outlines an Australian 75 million in working capital and a 25 million in contingent facility. How do these facilities support Greatland's growth strategy, particularly with the Telfer projects, and help manage any risks associated with the acquisition?
Yeah, for that Telfer 75 million working capital facility, I think the last part of your question is really where that anchors. It's about managing risk by giving us additional liquidity buffer, which is always good to have that additional buffer. We start with a really strong cash balance, maybe as high as $100 million, depending on the final working capital adjustment around the transaction, but approaching that kind of level, plus another $75 million of that Telfer working capital facility, we feel that gives us a really strong liquidity platform. So we think that's important. When we think about growth, I'd probably pivot to that same group of banks, Tier 1 banks, ANZ, ING, HSBC, that have provided that $750 million letter of comfort, letter of support for that project financing to deliver Havieron. That's a huge growth piece for us and allows us to do that with the magic of leverage rather than requiring equity. So it should amplify shareholder returns. So the two work hand in glove to deliver Telfer and then in turn deliver Havieron.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Given the increased exposure to gold and copper markets through the Telfer acquisition, does Greatland plan to implement hedging strategies to manage the price volatility?
Yeah, look, we're seeing fantastic gold prices at or very near all-time highs, maybe even looking a little bit stronger in AUD gold or Australian dollar gold. And of course, that is our functional currency. That will determine our margin. So we love the current gold price. I've read lots of things that it will continue to go up, but we also have to think about the risk of it going down. So although we're a little bit measured about how we think about our hedging, what we will do is implement some put options where we buy the right to sell gold at a certain price, but not an obligation to deliver. So it's the path of least regret. You can retain all the upside in the gold price, but if there is a pullback in gold, you have a right to sell at that price. So right now at these kind of really high gold prices, that's what we think about risk management with, by buying put options. So if the gold price goes up, we're in clover, but if the gold price goes down, we outperform. As I said, it's the path of least regret. So we think that's a good way to manage that risk in the short term. And to be honest, we hope those put options expire unused, because it just means the gold price is even higher.
Yeah, okay. And it's worth remembering for anyone new to the company that obviously that your background has been through finance for your entire career. So you know very much exactly how these things work. This is a question from one of our supporters. They've asked, can you confirm whether there's an intention to raise further funds when Greatland lists on the ASX?
Look, the ASX listing we think is really important. We had a huge volume of Australian based funds bid into the book at the time of acquisition, so we're grateful for their support. And again, we see this as an ASX listing, and we retain our London listing, so it's taking the best of both worlds. Our prima facie is that it's a compliance listing, just like when we spoke about this, say a year ago. That is our intent. Look, there is a regulatory pathway through the ASX. They can want you to demonstrate market support with a raising, but even if that was the case, we think it's a non-material type requirement. So, I think our prima facie, it's a compliance listing with no equity raise, but we'll update that in time. We have to keep our options open just as we navigate that regulatory approval requirement. But either way, it will be either zero or immaterial.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thanks. How does the acquisition of Telfer and Havieron fit into Greatland's long-term vision as a major player in the Australian gold and copper market?
Well, look, this is transformational for us. Like on day one, we become a major producer. We then have, it's this confluence of immediate production and infrastructure, coupled with a 20-year mine life at the lowest all-in sustaining cost on the ASX. Like, it's a unique combination, and people should understand just how rare it is to have a 20-year mine life. If it's not unique in Australia, it just about is. So it's a fantastic operational base to start with. We think, especially at these all-time high gold prices, it's just a fantastic time. So look, we're really pleased with this foundation asset, so to speak, for Greatland. And of course, I've spoken before about becoming a multi-asset producer over time, and that will be a focus for us. But in the short term, it's all about achieving the integration and delivering what we've set out to achieve at Telfer and Havieron.
Beyond Telfer and Havieron, does Greatland have any plans to expand further in the Paterson region with exploration or perhaps an acquisition?
Yeah, look, this kind of coincides with my comments about exploration. We're very focused on investing in the drill bit and continuing to do exploration. Of course, Greatland shareholders understand only too well the value creation you can achieve if you do discover a major ore body. In addition to that, though, we have this infrastructure, and it's very much this hub and spoke model where we have Havieron, Telfer underground as well, all delivering into this asset. And if we can continue to bring on new ore sources, of course, we're going to be interested in that.
Which leads nicely into this question from one of our supporters. And they've asked, once the 15-month mining plan for 426,000 gold equivalent ounces ends, are you confident there'll be enough resources at Telfer or Havieron to maintain the cash flow? And what are the plans to ensure long-term sustainability?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, this is the best time, to my mind, to own Telfer since 2005. you've got this high gold price, but importantly, 30 million tonnes of stockpiles at surface. Around 10 million tonnes of that, the high grade portion will be put through in that first 15 months. We'll still have 20 million tonnes of stockpiles at surface. We continue mining during that time. We think there's the extensions, and if you look at the presentation, that stage 7, stage 8 extension at the bottom of the pit, the stage 7 cutback, we think re-entering the main dome, all of that looks attractive under a Newmont cost structure at around $1,600 US an ounce, and the current $2,500 market plus price only makes that look more attractive. So we're going to spend time, energy, and effort to understand those. There's a lot of opportunities that I just described that don't need any drilling. They've already drilled out. It's simply going through and understanding the economics and making a decision to do it. We'll be agile and focused in doing that. So yeah, we feel really confident that we can extend the Telfer mine life, bring Havieron on stream, and then you've got the best of both worlds. You can then focus on that Havieron ore, because that's 5 times the grade of Telfer ore, but then augment that, albeit at a lower run rate, with ongoing Telfer ore. So, we think Telfer and Havieron are really symbiotic. They work better together, and we're excited about unlocking the value by delivering Havieron and the continuation of the Telfer asset.
That's great. Thank you so much. What's been the most rewarding aspect of engaging with the Telfer workforce so far, and how will Greatland ensure their expertise is retained and leveraged effectively?
Yeah, I think the team's done a really good job at engaging with the workforce. A number of our key people, such as Simon Tyrrell, our COO, are actually going to be based at site for the first 12 to 18 months. That's a huge commitment by Simon. And again, his commitment, his leadership to make sure that integration is successful, and that we're set up for long-term success at Telfer. So as part of that, we've been engaging with people. It's not quite 99%, but over 98% of people accepted roles with us. I think that shows the continuity we've got, the retention of talent, the retention of knowledge. I think all of that sets us up for success. And I think the site workforce are actually really excited about having a mid-cap that is focused on Telfer and Havieron. Perhaps a bit of an unloved part of a larger company's portfolio over time. It will now be, the jewel in the crown for Greatland and be all our focus. So I think site's really excited about that. Added focus on exploration, added focus on productivity, added focus on investing for the future.
Lovely, thank you. What role will the local Indigenous communities and other stakeholders play in Greatland's operations post-acquisition? And have you thought about how you'll engage with this and support these communities as part of the operation?
Yeah, look, Greatland's really fortunate. We already are based in the Paterson, obviously. It's the centre of gravity for us with Havieron, the 30% share, and our exploration activity. So we have an existing very strong relationship with Martu. And again, I don't think these transactions happen unless you can demonstrate that existing good First Nations relationship. We feel we actually take over a really strong community engagement team and plan from Newcrest Newmont. So we feel we're actually combining two very strong teams. We're building on a platform of strength. And for us, it's really a continuation of that mission. So, yeah, a lot of confidence there.
Lovely. Have you had the chance to visit Telfer since the deal was announced? And if not, when do you plan to get up there?
Yep, no, have been a lot through due diligence, post due diligence. We've got some of the team up there right now as we speak, and we really appreciate the access that Newmont's provided us through this period. They've just been top draw to deal with, and I'll be there for day one on the acquisition. I can't quite reveal that date yet, but rest assured I'll be boots on the ground the day we take over to engage with that team and welcome them to Greatland.
That's amazing. Well, Sean, that's the end of my questions that I have for you. Is there anything you'd like to say directly to your audience today?
Oh, look, Liam, just really appreciate your support, including us on AIM online, and again for the support from our shareholders and our broader stakeholders and those engaged. It's really appreciated. I always enjoy the interactions I have with you, but also with the Greatland community. So it's super appreciated, and I can just convey the excitement we've got in the team here about completing this transaction in the near term.
Very exciting indeed. That brings us to the end of today's questions. So a big thank you to you, Sean Day, Managing Director of Greatland.
Thanks, Liam. Really appreciate the time, and we'll talk again soon, I hope.
That brings us to the end of today's interview. A big thank you to Sean Day, Managing Director of Greatland Gold PLC, for sharing his insights and giving us a closer look at the exciting developments at Greatland. It's always a privilege to hear directly from the Managing Director during such a pivotal time for the company. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation, so please feel free to leave a comment below with your feedback or any additional questions you'd like us to explore in the future. Thank you for taking the time to engage with our show. My name is Liam, and you've been watching AIM on Air, where connecting companies with its shareholders is what we do best.